Ambrose the Kangaroo Delivers the Good, written by Elizabeth McIntyre, read to you by Miss Keating. Away in the outback, on the other side of the black stump, past the ring-barked forest and over the Bunyam Creek, there's a ghost town left over from the gold mining days. People had dug deep in the ground, taken out all the gold they could find, then moved on somewhere else, leaving an empty town behind them. Animals live there now. They love the place. You would think it had been specially built for them. The lyrebirds run the Grand Hotel. Mr. Koala Bear manages the bank. Jack Kookaburra has his butcher shop. Mr. Wombat sells second-hand goods. The platypuses live in the rubbish dump. Rabbits, bandicoots and possums live in the old church. And Mr. and Mrs. Kangaroo and Ambrose keep the general store. One day Mrs. Kangaroo was sorting out the weekend grocery orders to be delivered. Things for the wombats, the kookaburras, the koala bears, Mr. and Mrs. Platypus, for the rabbits, the bandicoots and possums, and a very important order to be taken to the Grand Hotel. The Brolgers from Reedy Lagoon were having a birthday party there that afternoon. The orders were nearly ready for Mr. Kangaroo to take around in his vintage car when Ambrose came hurrying with bad news. A cockatoo just flew past with a message from Dad. His car is bogged in 5 Mile Creek, away over the other side of the ring-barked forest. He won't be back till goodness knows when. But never you mind, said Ambrose cheerfully. I'll help. We'll get everything sorted out and delivered as quick as a wink. He put a chair up on the counter, a case of apples on the chair, a tin of popcorn on the case of apples, and climbed up to reach the things that were hanging from the ceiling. But oops! Accidents will happen. The chair slipped, upsetting the apples, spilling the popcorn and knocking over a barrel of breakfast food and scattering candles all over the place. Ambrose, you'd be more help if you went right outside, said Mrs. Kangaroo, when at last they cleaned up the mess. Please take these things to the Grand Hotel for the Brolgers' birthday party. There's orange, lemon and raspberry cordial, a tin of fancy biscuits and 2 bags of mixed sweets. Right you are, said Ambrose. No sooner said than done. Hurry, Ambrose, his mother called after him. Mrs. Lyrebird is waiting for those things so she can get the party ready. Don't you worry, he shouted, hopping off in a cloud of dust. I'll take them there as fast as lightning. Hey, guess what we found? Bertram Bear and some rabbits and bandicoots called from some bushes on the other side of the street. Can't stop, Ambrose shouted. I'm in a hurry to deliver some orange, lemon and raspberry cordial, a tin of fancy biscuits, 2 bags of mixed sweets to the Grand Hotel for the Brolgers' birthday party this afternoon. Come and see this, they all shouted together. It'll whiz your things up the hill to the Grand Hotel in half the time. Ambrose's curiosity was too much for him. He stopped, crossed the road and pulled the bushes aside. And there it was, an old fire engine, dusty and rather battered, and tangled in prickled blackberry bushes, but still a fire engine. Just what you need for the delivery wagon, Ambrose, his friend shouted excitedly. She only needs 1 more wheel and she'll be good as new. It's a beaut, agreed Ambrose. But they're waiting for these things for the party at the Grand Hotel. There's no time to fix it up now. You'll save time with it, said the rabbits and bandicoots. We'll all heave-ho together and have it right in a jiffy. They all pushed and pushed, untangling the blackberries, and soon had the fire engine standing the right way up. There's even an alarm bell to let people know you're coming, cried Elsie Bandicoot, giving a few sharp ring-a-lings to show how well it worked. As soon as I've taken these things to the Grand Hotel, I'll fix it up to deliver the rest of the orders, Ambrose said. Why waste time struggling all the way up the hill with that heavy basket, said Bertram. Just nip across the road to Mr. Wombat's shop. You're sure to find an old engine wheel there. That seemed a sensible thing to do, so Ambrose hid the basket of party goods in the bushes and hopped across the road. Hello, Ambrose, said Mrs. Wombat. Where are the groceries I ordered? I'll bring them as soon as I've taken Mrs. Lyrebird's things to the Grand Hotel. But first, I need another wheel for a fire engine. You'll have to ask Mr. Wombat for that, love, she said. He's just stepped along the road to have a word with Mr. Bear at the bank. If you hurry, you'll catch him there. The bank was halfway along to the Grand Hotel. Ambrose wondered if he should hop back and get the things for the party, so he could just take them at the same time. But Mrs. Wombat said to hurry, and he didn't want to miss Mr. Wombat, so he hopped off to the bank. He got to the bank just as Mr. Wombat was being shown out of the manager's office. Wheels, said Mr. Wombat. You name 'em, I've got 'em. Cart wheels, water wheels, steering wheels, paddle wheels, wheelbarrow wheels, wheelchair wheels, wheels with wheels. Just a fire engine wheel, said Ambrose. That's all I need. Come back to the shop and we'll look around. They hunted through the shop. They found bicycle wheels, tricycle wheels, huge, small and medium-sized wheels. Every size, shape and sort of wheel you could think of, except the one Ambrose wanted. Sorry, son, Mr. Wombat said. We seem to be right out of fire engine wheels. Fire engine wheels, cried Mr. Platypus, who had just come into the shop. I've some fire engine wheels at home. Come back with me now and I'll give you one. To go along by the creek was the back way, a slightly quicker way to the Grand Hotel. So Ambrose hopped back to get the party things he'd left hidden near the fire engine. Then he followed Mrs. Platypus as she padded along through the bush to a home in the rubbish dump. First, move that mangle off the stove, then the stove off the saucepan stand. Untangle the saucepan stand and give me the meat safe underneath it all, said Mrs. Platypus, pointing to the pile of heavy junk. Ambrose didn't like to say that he was in too much of a hurry, so he tugged and heaved and pushed till he'd done as he was told. But even after all that, he didn't find the wheel he wanted. Oh, thank you, dearie. I've been waiting for a nice, strong lad like you to come along and move those things, Mrs. Platypus smiled, pushed a small object towards him. Here, this is all for you. It has 2 strong wheels and you can have them both. Ambrose could have cried. She'd given him a toy fire engine. Mrs. Platypus was sorry when she saw how disappointed he was. She told him to hop along up to the bowerbirds, not far off the ringbark forest. She was sure they could give him the right sort of wheel. Ambrose was so late now that he knew the fast fire engine was his only hope for getting all the goodies to the Grand Hotel in time for the party. So he hid the orange, lemon and raspberry cordial, the tin of fancy biscuits, 2 bags of mixed sweets in a hollow tree, and hopped on and on and on to the ringbark forest. It was on the side of a hill, steeper than you'd think, and Mr. and Mrs. Bowerbird lived much farther in the forest than he expected. At last he got there. And there was the very wheel he needed, right in the centre of Mr. Bowerbird's beautiful bower. Destroy my wife's nice indoor garden to give you that good pot plant holder, cried Mr. Bowerbird. Never! Please, Ambrose begged him, please, I need it so much. I've got to fix it on the fire engine so I can race off to the Grand Hotel with some orange, lemon and raspberry cordial, a tin of fancy biscuits, 2 bags of mixed sweets, in time for the Brolga's birthday party this afternoon. I'll do anything for you, if only you'll give it to me. Anything? Anything at all. All right then, you have it, if you'll just take away this tiresome ringtail possum who sleeps all day in our best cake stand. Drop him off at the church as you go past. Poor Ambrose set off downhill as fast as he could go. Worry, 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 so much to worry about. Ambrose didn't know what to worry about most. The possum was hard to carry, the wheel kept running away, he still had a long way to go, and it was getting later and later, nearer and nearer to the time of the party. The possum slid backwards and forwards like a half-filled hot water balloon. The fire engine wheel bumped along, bounced, crashed into tree trunks, and got hidden in the grass. But at last, Ambrose reached the bottom of the hill. Then he had something to really worry about, immediately. Where he'd hidden the bottles of orange, lemon and raspberry cordial, the tin of fancy biscuits and the 2 bags of mixed sweets. All the trees looked exactly the same. At last he found the right tree, found the things for the party, left the possum at the church, put the wheel on the fire engine, and went thundering up the hill to the Grand Hotel. He arrived there in fine style, and went hurrying in with the orange, lemon and raspberry cordial, the tin of fancy biscuits, and the 2 bags of mixed sweets. But nobody was there. He looked upstairs, downstairs, and all around, but he didn't see a soul. No lyrebirds, no brolgas, no party, nothing at all. He went back down the hill. Nobody was about the street, nobody in the shops. The whole town seemed deserted. Even more worried now, Ambrose hurried home. At least there was someone there. Loud noises were coming from inside the shop. Stamping, shouting, yelling. Was it a fight? Was it a riot? Had all their customers got tired of waiting for him and gone to complain to poor Mrs. Kangaroo? Ambrose wasn't worrying anymore. Now he was just plain scared. He took a deep breath and made himself be very brave. Then just as he was about to go inside, his mother met him at the door. Ambrose, she cried, wherever have you been? Everyone waited and waited and waited for the orange, lemon and raspberry cordial, the tin of fancy biscuits and the 2 bags of mixed sweets. Then they all got tired of waiting for the goodies to arrive, so they came all the way down from the Grand Hotel and we're having the party here.